Dr. Rouhani, welcome to Table Talks. You and your family live in Vanuatu. For those who are listening to this and watching this, could you tell us where Vanuatu is and how is it that you live in Vanuatu? How come?
Yes, Mehran, thank you so much for inviting me to this space. It is truly an honor to be with you and to participate in this wonderful space. Yes, we came to Vanuatu in 1988, myself and my wife and our little daughter. Vanuatu is a small island nation situated in the South Pacific Ocean. It is composed of about 70 islands and with a population of almost 300,000 people. The indigenous people of Vanuatu are of Melanesian race. They're beautiful people. The country is so rich in culture. They have 120 dialects. Compared to the population, they have, I think, the largest number of dialects per capita in the world. Each island have their own dances, their own language, their own traditions, their own stories. And they are very beautiful people, very friendly. And we count our blessings since the day we came to this country. We feel that we are so blessed to be among these noble people. Yes, we came to Vanuatu as pioneers in 1988, and we came to contribute our share to the development of Baha'i Faith in this country. The faith came to this country in 1953 by an Australian lady by the name of Bertha Dobbins. It was during the 10-year crusade, at the very beginning of 10-year crusade, in fact. She came here by herself. She was about 50 years old, and she stayed here for almost 20 years. And she contributed a lot to this country. Yes, and so we have been here since 1988. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Payman. You're involved with a number of social projects in Vanuatu, as I understand it. Could you tell us why these social projects are important? And also tell us a little bit about these projects. What kind of projects do you do? And do you get paid for it?
Thank you. So when the Institute process began taking root in this country, especially in some of the most advanced clusters, such as Tana, Efate, Central Santo, and when a spiritual foundation was laid, a very strong spiritual foundation was laid through the Institute process. That is to say, when the children began receiving their spiritual education, when the Junior Youth Empowerment Program took deeper roots, when the study circles and of course the devotional character of communities and villages began to transform, we naturally were drawn into the life of the society. And the population demanded from the Baha'is solution to their problems. And so a social action takes place at various levels in the neighborhoods, in communities, in villages. And as to answer your question, we established a Baha'i-inspired organization called Foundation for the Betterment of Society. It's about 15 years ago. We established this organization. It is a non-governmental, non-profit organization, and it takes inspiration from the teachings of the faith, and we are guided by the Baha'i World Center in our endeavors. And this organization began thinking about development, following the Baha'i, guided by the Baha'i principles, began thinking about development of the communities, development that is coherent. That is to say, the spiritual and material progress progress hand in hand. That's our conception of development. So we have a number of projects that we are involved basically in three projects, three endeavors. One of them is called Preparation for Social Action. This is an educational program. And what this program does, it takes a group of youth through a series of studies. There are 18 units that they study. It takes them about 2.5 years to complete their studies. And as they study these materials, they begin thinking about the transformation of their communities. They begin reading accurately the reality of their community and try to ascertain what are the actual needs of the community and how can they contribute to the transformation of their communities. So they are acting as promoters of community well-being. Another area in which we are engaged are community schools and kindergartens. And again, these are the schools in which intellectual development of the children and their spiritual development are taken care of. And also we are involved in participating in discourses of society where we organize forums and dialogues at various levels, and we bring stakeholders into these spaces, and we discuss about various concepts such as education, such as moral leadership, such as development, the concept of development, such as gender equality, and so on. So basically, these are the three main areas in which we are engaged. And no, we don't get paid for them for doing that.
Okay, that's interesting to know. So I asked if you could prepare pictures so those who would be watching this would have an idea of the work that you're involved with. For those who are listening to the audio version of this, I'm going to put the link for the YouTube uh, video version of the podcast, and you can see those pictures as well. So please, if you have those pictures, Payman, you can put it on the screen, yeah, and just talk about you know any of them as you wish. I mean, if there are stories that are involved with each picture, tell us. The more we know, the better it is.
Thanks, Mehran. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the name of our organization is Foundation for the Betterment of Society, and it is a Baha'i-inspired organization. And our organization is guided by the writings of the faith. As you are aware, from the early days, Baha'u'llah uh, um, asked his followers to be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age they live in and enter their deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. And these are the principles that guide our organization. This one is a picture of one of the community schools that the communities have built. We call them community schools because they are purely organized and owned and built and taken care by the community. What our organization does, we just train their teachers and we accompany them and make sure that they receive the training they require. In fact, these are classrooms that you see. One of them is class 1, the other one is class 2. The one on the far right hand, on the very corner with a white roof, it is a kindergarten. And this year, the community is building class 3 and are progressing from year to year. These are the students of the school. As I mentioned, Vanuatu is very rich in culture, and these are the population in that area. These are in central Santo cluster. And the lady that you see on the left is associated with our organization, and she's a trained teacher, and she does the teacher training. This is an end of year ceremony that the community school celebrated just last December. And myself and my wife, we had the honor of being present in that school. The two ladies on the left are the teachers, and the rest are students. And as you can see, some of them are maybe they are 13, 14 years old, but they're still in class 1 and class 2. It is because they don't really have access to education. And it is, and when they called on our organization to bring schools to them, and we said, yes, we can do that, but the community has to take responsibility for the intellectual development of their population, and we support you by training your teachers. And since then, they have been, now they have a school. And in few years' time, you won't see those older ones in the school, and each child will be in each class according to their age. This is during the end of year ceremony, and the students came one by one to their teachers and thanked them. This child is a kindergarten student and is handing over a plate to the teacher to thank her for teaching her during the year, and the teacher is giving them their papers, the drawings, and the paintings they have done throughout the year to take to their parents. And she is one of the teachers. They were so happy and joyous to see that the children completed the year, despite a cyclone that they had. The cyclone, in fact, blew at the middle of last year and demolished. The whole school was gone, and they had to rebuild them again. So these are actually new buildings that the school put together again. He's another teacher here, and the student again is there with a plate to give to the teacher and thank him for his efforts and his sacrifices in teaching them, what they were.
So if
I
I
think this child is class 2.
interview
Yes,
for
go
a
ahead.
second, I wanted to ask, so from what I understand, then you empower the people in the community so they can take over um, that social action that you have started. Is that the correct understanding?
Yes, yes, the community has to own their own path to development. You see, development for many years was being viewed as a project that somebody from outside would bring to the community, a kind of a package. And they would bring services and they would bring this development package to the community. And sadly, this way of doing development creates dependency. So the communities, they become dependent on development providers, and they don't take charge of their own path to development. But our organization, what we do, we raise capacity, we empower the population so that they can trace their own path to development. I give you an example. When the cyclone blew, those communities that had become dependent, when they lost their schools, they waited, and they waited for a long time for somebody else to come and build their schools so that the children can receive education. Some of them waited for months, while this particular school, within just a matter of weeks, the school was back and it was built by the community, and the children went back into the classrooms. So it is so important that people participate and they take responsibility for their own development, and they decide their own path to development. They are not somehow dictated by somebody from outside who sometimes claims to know better than the people themselves what their path to their development should be. So this is the classrooms, and as you can see, the chairs and the tables, they were cut by the population with a chainsaw. They found a log and they cut it, and the children are sitting on the sand, but they're receiving their education. And this is the blackboard. Just the task of bringing the blackboard from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill is a formidable task. When we walked that path, it took us 7.5 hours to climb the mountains to reach to their village. And imagine if they had to carry just a blackboard, how difficult it would be. And this is one of the I think it is a class 1 or class 2 classroom. And as you can see, the quotations from the Baha'i writings are hung on the wall, and the children memorize them, and the multiplication table is on the left. So they learn whatever we learn other parts of the world. And in addition to that, they learn spiritual principles. Look at her face. She's so beautiful. Her name is Lolinda. She's born in a Baha'i family, and she's one of the students. And again, these are another picture of the students of the school. And here are the students in the yard of the school. Yes, please.
I want to ask, so this concept of basically the children getting trained spiritually as well as the sciences that normal schools in the West or anywhere else would teach. This is interesting. As why is it important for children to have that spiritual education?
Thank you. Thank you. It is so important because what holds a society together are actually the moral foundations of a society. You know, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the French philosopher, he said once that there are two ways you can hold a society together, either by force, for example, the force of military or the force of law or the force of police force, or you can hold a society together by moral principles. And, you know, for our society to hold together, to have a just society based on fairness and justice, we need to have those moral foundations in our society. And education is the most potent instrument that can build that foundation in a society. Therefore, schools are not just places where children receive academic education. They ought to be places where they receive a holistic education, uh, which includes spiritual education, because spiritual education or moral education is really is what guides an individual to use his intellect. Otherwise, that individual's mind can unfortunately can bring light to the world and also can lead the world into darkness if it is not guided by those moral principles. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, and this is another project we have. This is in the south. This is one of our offices. And this lady is our administrator. This is in the island of Tana, where a Baha'i house of worship is being built. And this is where we offer the program called Preparation for Social Action. And these are the buildings. Again, the community has built these buildings. This is where they have access to sand, they have access to coral, they have access to cement, which of course comes from overseas, but they are able to build these buildings. And in one of these buildings, we have a little clinic, and this person is was one of the students of this program, Preparation for Social Action. And later he entered into the field of health, and they have established this little clinic or aid post, and the people in the neighborhood benefit from this service. And this is during one of our graduation ceremony, where the students of this program, the participants, they received their certificate of participation. She graduated a year ago, and now she's serving as a tutor for one of the groups. And here they are. The community is so happy, and they present the graduates with these flowers and these clothes that they hang on their neck, and one of the, I think she's a sister, presenting the brother with a cake. And these are some of the students that graduate. Our classrooms, they begin very humbly. This is how they began. Again, the community built them with bamboos and corrugated iron wherever they can find them. And eventually they see the importance of the program, and they begin building more permanent structures. These are the students engaged in their studies of the books. As I mentioned, there are 18 books in the program, and they come every day, and they learn about these concepts, and they go into their community and they apply them. So it is not just book learning, it is their knowledge is being translated into transforming their communities. Here they are. And these are examples of some of the books they study. So there are various units. For example, they study about properties of matter. They study about growth of the plant, health and disease. And this is another group. We have at the moment 9 groups in the island of Tana, where they study these materials. And these are some other books: transformation and transfer of energy, ecosystem, and heating and cooling of matter. So the science that we learn in the other part of the world, they learn. In addition to that, they learn how to apply this knowledge into the life of the community, and with the spirit of service. Again, to answer your question, not to be paid for it, but service is a part of their, it becomes a part of their moral responsibility. As you know, that each individual has a dual moral purpose in life. One is to take care of his or her own intellectual, spiritual, and social development. And the other moral responsibility each individual ought to have is to contribute to the well-being and to the betterment of his or her society. So the participants of this program, they learn to fulfill these two moral responsibilities. And here are some of the students who are engaged with this program. And we make sure that there is a gender balance, and boys and girls, they're all invited, and especially girls are encouraged to take this program. And here they're outside their classrooms, and very happy to be a part of this program. And here they are. So after having built their bamboo structures, here they're engaged in building a more permanent structure, and everybody participates, and they all do wholeheartedly with a lot of joy. And another program in which we are engaged, as I mentioned earlier, are these participating in public discourses that are of concern to a society. For example, moral leadership is a concept that that the people in various communities come together, and they learn and they consult and they talk about what does it mean to be a leader, and what are those moral principles that a leader should follow. For example, a leader should be a role model to the community. A leader has to be trustworthy and honest, and all these principles. So this is a dialogue that we had at the level of community. And here they are, the community members. And at the end of the program, the community wanted to give some gifts to the we call it PSA Center. PSA stands for Preparation for Social Action. And here are some medical equipment that they are giving, some medicine, and some that they are giving to the community. And this lady in the front, Anika, she was a student, and now she's almost graduating, and soon she will be involved with health projects. And just to close this presentation of pictures, we are again guided by this quote from Abdul Baha, where he says, "And the honor and distinction of the individual consists in this, that he, among all the world's multitudes, should become a source of social good. Is any larger bounty conceivable than this? That an individual looking within himself should find that by the confirming grace of God, he has become the cause of peace and well-being, of happiness and advantage to his fellow men? No, by the one true God, there is no greater bliss, no more complete delight." So the individuals who are engaged in our social action projects, they are guided by this, and they take joy and delight in contributing their share to the advancement and progress of their communities.
Thank you, Dr. Rowhani. I love the presentation. What stood out to me is this fact that you mentioned in a section of your presentation, which is these thoughts or these principles. They have to come from the realm of thought into the realm of reality. Otherwise, they're just ideas that are in a book or in somebody's head. But the fact that they actually you're able to materialize this and to bring it into action, I think it's amazing what you have done. And I want to thank you personally.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, this is, in fact, it is our responsibility. When it is a responsibility, there is no need to be thanked for it. And we are thankful that we are given the opportunity to exercise that responsibility. Yes, you are absolutely right. What is important is to be able to translate the word into reality. And, Baha'u'llah came with this reservoir of revelation, and he's guiding humanity for many, many centuries to come. And it is left to us to read his words and translate them into action. And in order to be able to do that, a posture of learning needs to be adopted, so that we can go forward, we can try, we learn, sometimes we fail, like what scientists do, with no fear of failure, and then we try again, and then we reflect and we learn. So it goes through this pattern of action, reflection, consultation, study, action again, reflection, consultation, study. And we do that repeatedly until, and then we contribute, we generate knowledge, and that knowledge contributes to this body of knowledge that hopefully will be disseminated to other parts of the world.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Dr. Rohani, again. And I know I took you off, you have some guests at home, so please extend our greetings to them. And we'll talk soon, I hope.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving me the privilege to be a part of this space. And I wish you all the best with your future interviews and your future presentations.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a good day, Dr. Rohani.
Okay, have a great day. Bye.